Welcome to another Robert Chalmers YouTube tutorial. This time I'd like to show you how to do a neon light graphic using Affinity Designer. The first thing you need to do is to find a brick wall image, which is what I'm going to do on this one. Now there's a million images out there. If you search Google Images brick wall, you'll come up with lots of them. They're also available from the Asset Studio in Affinity. So find a suitable image, open your document and paste the image in. It doesn't really matter what size document you use, but once it's pasted in, you then set its mode to overlay. Now you won't see any change in the document, but it will be in overlay mode, and that's what you need. Now create a new layer. Place it below the brick wall and hide the brick wall for now. You can see I'm doing this tutorial as a series of slides rather than a video. I might do a video later and add it on to the whole process, but for now I think the slides are better because it goes slower and you can see what's happening. So you can see on the right hand side there we've got the image layer, which is turned off. There's no tick in the box. And a vector layer, and it's hidden, well it's not hidden, it's displayed actually, it's the white square, but I've moved it to below the image. Like this. There you go, that's fairly easy to see now, and there's nothing special about that. Now this becomes a little more difficult. We've got to place a background layer on that vector layer you just created by opening a rectangle shape over that layer. So you select rectangle on the left hand side, drag it out over the layer that you have, and while you're doing that apply a radial gradient to it, and it's coloured red. So you set the colour to red from the master dot, and it's coloured red with darkening outer edges. You do that by selecting the major part of the line as the center there with the red colouring, and going out to the edges it will darken away. In your colour wheel you don't set it bright red, you set it within the triangle towards the darker end of the triangle. At this stage you can unhide the image of the brick wall and check it. Then you lock both layers. Now this is a fairly straightforward process. You've got a layer with the brick wall on it, a layer below that you've put a coloured layer over and set it to a gradient. That section is now done, and that's what your end result will look like. You've got an image on its own layer and locked, and a layer below that with a gradient applied to it, and that's locked. And that section is done. We're now going to look at the font. The font I've used in this is available from the URL you can see below, 1001fonts.com, clip-font HTML #styles. You can use lots of different fonts, but this is the one I'm using here. And it's a free font. You can just go and download it and install it. This is the font here, the website, 1001 Fonts, and search on that site if it doesn't come up directly for clip font. And you can see it there. It's a very nice font. Now, layer text. We have separate layers. You can see on the right hand side there, there's all the layers are named clearly, and I've got them down there. And they're all virtually the same, except for different colours and different words, of course. So start with the word neon and copy and paste so you have two of them. So you write neon once, then copy it, and just leave it there for the time being, but it will be in your layer list. You make one red and one black. Do the same with the word light in this case. Make one green and one black. Now the black one is obviously going to be behind the red one. Then create two ellipses with Gaussian blur to put behind the words, one red and one green. Now look carefully at the list of layers there starting from the top, you have the word neon, and there's a red glow set with Gaussian blur behind that. You can see they're all have effects or FX applied to them, and I'll show you that next, except for the light fitting, which is actually the black words, the neon in black only, because there's no glow, so it doesn't need effects. It will sit behind the word neon light. We're going to use that in the animation that I'll do right at the end with LumaFusion if you care to add that bit. If you're not going to animate it, you just want the word neon light, you can leave out the layers called light fitting, the black layers. That's entirely up to you. You might be doing a design that doesn't need it. The two words will be, in effect, on all the time. I've done that because I'm going to animate it. Now, the words have one red and one black in preparation for the animation of LumaFusion. If you're not going to animate it, you don't need the black. The black lettering is the sign when it's in the off state, in preparation for that animation. The ellipses are the red glow created by the neon lights when they're on. Adjust those glows to suit your own layout. Different lettering, different text will have different sized ellipses, red and green. The lettering has FX attributes as shown in the following slides. Now they're all the same. Adjust slightly as needed to suit your words. Study all the options carefully, especially the colours used. The options in the bar down the bottom, of course. You need to study this carefully. This is why I'm putting this on a slide so you can stop it or slow it down without losing visual. Now the outer glow, setting in context menu, you can see that scale with object, the layer effects. This is the word neon selected in this case, but it applies to neon and light. So the outer glow for both of those sets of text, scale with object. Now to get outer glow, you touch the word outer glow. You switch it on and touch the word outer glow, and that will bring up the context bar. And you can see down the bottom in the context bar, 100% opacity, 10.6 radius, 70% intensity, and its colour is red. The next one is the inner glow. This is the line inside the light. The inner glow in the context menu, scale with object. You might be confused by up on the right hand side, you can see the colour wheel is still showing red, but that's the master layer. You've got to look at the context menu here for this one, because you've got inner glow selected, and then you touch the word inner glow and that will bring up the context bar that you can then make to white. The blend mode is screen, 100%, 6 pixels and 50%. That's the inner glow. That's the line of white you can see inside the lettering. Let's go to the last one. This is the outer shadow. Now, I haven't got a big shadow on this one because I decided I didn't want a big shadow. But it's entirely up to you whether you put that shadow there or not. It's the outer shadow, and again, your context menu is set. Opacity, radius, offset, intensity, and colour. Now, the offset, in this case, is only 9 pixels. These same settings apply to both the word neon and the word light, and of course you can do those as you go along. And that's really all there is to it. That's the 100% neon light finished. Now, animating in LumaFusion is an extra bit that you may not want to bother with. And you can see here, image setup on the timeline in LumaFusion. I've reduced each image length to 1 second because they default to 2. The first image on the left, neon light, they're both on. The second image I've exported from my original image file, and I've turned off the red and left the black displayed. So that's the fitting. The light's on, then off. The word light is staying on. The next one, the red light's back on and the word light is still on. The next one, the red light is on and the green, neon is on and the green light is off. Leaves the fitting behind it. Then they're both on again, and that scrolls across on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 second image. That's all you need. And that would be good as an introduction to a video, for example, if you've got the appropriate words in there. Each element is an image exported with the appropriate layer toggled on or off. That's really all there is to it. And the animation, neon light, and you can see on and off, and that's all there is to it. Thank you very much for watching. The actions on my iPad Mini 5, I want to show you how to do the neon light exercise, if I can, straight through on the iPad. Now to start with, I'll open a new document. Doesn't really matter what it is. Points, let's do a web. Comes up in pixels and it's a reasonable size. That's all we need. Now the first thing I have to do, you can see there is no layer there. So what I have to do is bring in an image. I'll put a vector layer in there just so you can see what's happening, and I'll probably end up removing that. So go to Unsplash, which is the, you can see down here, is the stock photos. Tap to search, brick wall. It will search for brick walls. Now there's a nice brick wall. It's downloading it and it puts it in there. Now that's way too big for what we want. So back up here to the move tool, we'll reduce the image size and we'll reduce the image in here. Now that's a reasonable size. I'll move it over there slightly so when the layers panel comes out, you can see it's on its own layer. Now I don't really want that, and that makes not much difference there if I turn that on or off. So what I might have to do is step back, step back, step back. Might be easier if I just cut the whole thing out. That layer there. Delete the layer. So there's no layers there now, that's just our document. Because I don't want separate layers in there, it really confuses the issue. Let's call in our brick wall again. Come on, loosen up guys. There we go. Go through that process again. Now you might wonder about it, but see there's no extra layer there now. What I've got to do is shrink that down because as usual we have this huge image behind. There we go. Oops, there's a white band at the bottom which I don't want. That's all in place. There we go, there's our brick wall and it's on its own layer as you can see. Now the layer mode I want here, layer options, normal, we need to find overlay. Oops. And we set the mode to overlay and leave all that as is. Now being an overlay mode makes no difference at this stage. And you can see that. We go back there. It's still an image. Let's just touch there so there's nothing selected. However, what I want to do is add, the next step is to add a vector layer. And I want to move that vector layer down to there. That's below there. So I can turn that off. That leaves that vector layer alight or highlighted. Now we've got no colours there, which is fine. What I want to do is go over to the rectangle mode and put in a rectangle over the top of this, and you can see it drags out a kind of a grey colour. Now with that rectangle still highlighted, and you can see it's a layer there, what I want to do is use the fill tool to put in a radial, linear, solid, elliptical. We want to put in a radial type of. Now if I go and drag that in there, now I can move the whole thing over there. Now instead of being grey in there, you can see I've got not that one selected, I've got that one selected. Now I want to change the colour to somewhere about there, maybe there, maybe a bit, that's a bit darker, and we can take the red . Oh, and I've got that the wrong way around, haven't I? Sorry. My bad. What does that look like with the brick wall behind it? And there's the brick wall. Now you can adjust that red colour to suit. But what we want it to look like, you can see I'm bringing that out, it's much brighter. Or I can take that back in and leave just that bright centre behind there, which is about where we want it on the brick wall. Now let's go back up to the move tool and leave that, and you can see we've got our brick wall. So let's select both those layers and lock them. Both layers are locked, which is just what we want. Now to start the next part of the process, and I won't go through each step, but what we need to do is the artistic text tool and take that one and put a letter there. But what I wanted to do is not have Arial, of course. A, B, 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 B. We're going down. I'm looking for C. Clip. There's our neon letters. Bar. Or let's stick with the exercise. N-E-O-N. Neon. Now that's in black, and we want it in red. Oh, and of course, as it would be, we want it in red. Neon. Now copy and paste. Got that wrong, didn't I? Neon, copy, paste. Makes it easy if you get it right the first time. Back to text. L-I-G-H-T. Only this time neon light, we want to make that nice bright green. So we'll hide that, bring the whole image back down to where I can see it. It bobs around a bit when you do that. Now what I didn't do, you'll notice there, it depends whether you're going to animate it, because if you want that light on or off, for instance, you turn that on, off, turn that on, turn that off, turn that on. And that's when you can animate it in LumaFusion. Now what I like to do, because the word light is beneath the word neon, just drag that down there so they're in the right order. Now the other thing you need to do is go to the hang on, I'll turn the page, go to the effects. Special effects on these lights. I've done the first one already because we don't want to spend all day doing this, making the detail even longer. I've started with the outer shadow, and you can see down the bottom, if you touch the outer shadow words, it brings up the context toolbar. Blend mode's normal, opacity 100%, radius 6 pixels, offset 19 pixels, intensity 0, the color is black and the angle's 270 degrees, and that puts the shadow, if you like, behind the neon word. Now we need an inner shadow for the lights to make them look a bit more realistic. Inner shadow is that one there. Touch the word inner shadow and it brings up the context toolbar for that one. Set it to normal mode, normal blend mode. Opacity 100%. The next bit, radius 32.6 pixels. Radius 32.6 pixels. I'm reading this from something I have set. The color, we don't want it black, we want it a creamy color. Is that cream? That's more yellow, isn't it? Cream. There's a creamy color. So that fills it with a creamy color. The radius 32.6, as I said, and the offset is 4.9. 4.9 pixels. Now that puts a colour inside it. You can probably play with that to make it what you want. Now the outer glow is up here. We tap outer glow and tap on that. Now the outer glow is definitely a red. Opacity 100, radius 12.4, well it's 12.2, that's not bad. The intensity and the colour. Now, the other ones are exactly the same. For the other word, for the light. Now you've got so you can see the white sort of band around the inside of the letters, just like a neon sign. It's got that reddish outer glow. The background, the black shadow offset might be a little high, but you can work that around your own letters. It does depend on the text. And I won't do the one for light because it's exactly the same basically. You can follow along with that one as you will. But watch the colours down the bottom. Watch everything in the context toolbar. You can see I've got screen there and not normal. It's so easy to forget these things. It doesn't appear to make a lot of difference, but it will on the finished product, especially if you start enlarging that. Okay. And there we go. There's our layers. Really, you can play around with that forever until you get it looking just right. You can add things like the wires that have to go into the neon sign. I mean, how else does it stay alight? And you can dress it up whatever you like. You can have whatever words you like in there. And that's all there really is to it. I'm not going to do the extra bit with LumaFusion because that is an extra bit that's in the original slide version. we don't need to put it here because it's learning to use a completely different app. It's available only on the iPad, whereas the steps I've done so far you can do on the iPad or on the desktop in Affinity Designer. Thank you for watching.